What's going on, gamers? So we got a soul farming video here exposing PC fanboys, as this is exposing PC fanboys. So apparently they're so mad because of what I said in this video. Definitely this one butthurt Steam fanboy. He's upset because I said that the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine are just like a console. They're limited and you cannot change out the parts. And then he tries to damage control and starts talking about emulation and all that. I said, that's not customizing the hardware. I was talking about hardware. We're going to get to this in a second. But my title here, as you see, PlayStation going all digital is exposing PC fanboys. And it is because you have no right to talk about physical preservation because that's not in your world. And most people in the PC world play on Steam. Don't try to bring up GOG either. That's a very small minute. When 90-something% of you support Steam, and you want to talk about anti-consumer, the most anti-consumer gaming company is Nvidia, who supported you and all your rigs. Guess what? You supported them to get them in that position, then Microsoft. Those are all PC companies. I find it funny that you literally cannot handle the truth, and you always think you need to defend PC 24/7 like it's superior on all ends. And the thing is, it isn't. It has things that you just can't get in the console world. One, you don't have PlayStation 5 exclusives, and you don't have certain PlayStation games, and there's games that you will never get. You don't have Nintendo exclusives. All Switch 2 exclusives, I have to get those in Nintendo Switch 2 world. I'm not going to be like you to limit myself in a world to sit there and complain about because you're crying you can't get Nintendo exclusives and you can't get PlayStation exclusives. All you got to do is go get the hardware. There's some stuff to really tear down here, and we're going to be doing this in this video. Let's get into this. Are you guys ready? So let's start off with Honcho Game Room, who is a butthurt PlayStation hater. Let's just make it quite clear. He says, this guy's an idiot. Guarantee you I'm vastly more intelligent than you in multiple fields of life outside of this drama. If you're going to call somebody an idiot, you better be more intelligent than them in multiple fields of life. And you better be multidimensional in the spiritual bracket, in politics, and other fields of development that you don't know that I'm developed in. You don't know me like that. So the funny thing here is, though, is we're going to get past this, though. He says, this guy is an idiot. PC isn't only Steam. When did I ever say that? I said there's also GOG and Epic there, too, and Microsoft. So, yeah. I've even made a video talking about GOG physical preservation, how you can take the digital license, digital ownership, which isn't DRM, and turn it into a physical copy. I've made that video before. So the one who's slow is you. This loser just said you can't customize a Steam Deck. I said you can't customize the hardware. It's specifically fixed just like a console, and so is the Steam Machine. And I was actually bringing up the Steam Machine for that. But if you want to include the Steam Deck, you can't change out the RAM, you can't change out the GPU, you can't change out the CPU. We're talking about hardware here. Then he says, I just put PC recomps, emulated. Guess what? You can modify a console, but you can't go back online, and you can seriously put emulations on there before too. People have done it with consoles. So what's your point on that? I have Switch and PlayStation. I can play all PlayStation backwards compatibility games, PS2, PS1, PS4, PlayStation 3, right? I can go on Switch and play all their categories. I don't need to do emulation. I'm not a cheap bum like you. But let's keep going, though. And then you talk about Xbox 360. Change the menu music. Okay, what does that have to do with hardware changing? Just look at this guy. Look at how far he's going out. To PS4 theme music, boot in music. He's talking about music. Bro, you can put music on anything. Nintendo has a whole catalog of music. You just put music on your cell phone while playing. You could just go on a thing and go on Spotify. Bro, that's all relevant. Please shut up with this. See how butthurt this PC fanboy is? He's so offended. He went to grab all this irrelevant stuff when I was talking about hardware changing. It's fixed just like a console because the Steam Deck is an imitation of the Nintendo Switch. That's where he got butthurt. I said everything you see happening, because Steam fails in hardware, by the way. Steam Deck is a failure, by the way, loser. It sold like 5 million copies. That shit is garbage. Nintendo Switch sold that in the first month they launched. It's already at 23 million sales. And it has exclusives. And it's way more powerful. And it's not $949. You want to talk about anti-consumer? It's right there in front of your face. Get Gabe's cock out of your mouth. Let's keep continuing right here. Steam Machine, $1,400. No exclusives again. You're playing the same old games over and over. That's not anti-consumer. That's ridiculous. It's the most expensive gaming product of all time. And the Steam Deck is the most overpriced handheld of all time. And you want to try to make it seem like PC is somehow friendly. You have the most anti-consumer companies on the planet. Nvidia is massively more anti-consumer than Nintendo and PlayStation put together times 10. It's a $1 trillion company that was #1 on the market. They're pushing the AI monopoly along with Microsoft, another PC software company. You are a hypocrite and you're the one that's an idiot. Wake up. Sit down, puppet. You don't know what you're talking about. Keep on mousing. Okay. Steam Deck, meanwhile, I just put PC recomps. You see this? Change the menu music, dual booted my Steam Deck. Dude, don't nobody care about this. This guy should just shut down this channel. No. What you should do is never type again. I swapped my 500 gigabyte SSD for a 2 terabyte. You can do the same thing on a PlayStation, same thing on an Xbox, and I can get more SD cards for the Nintendo Switch. And they all have all those backwards compatibility emulations right there on them. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say here. The Steam Deck is old, outdated hardware. Change the LCD screen into an OLED. You have no clue what you're talking about. Is this dude serious? And 35 people came to like this when we're talking about hardware changes. You can't change the CPU. You can't change the GPU. The Steam machine is the same way. You can only do the same thing you can do as a console. All I said in the video is that it's just like a console, but it's vastly overpriced. Nobody wants to buy it. You only sold 5 million copies in like 5 to 6 years. Nobody has a Steam Deck. It is an abysmal failure. You are a loser. They can't accept that. But if the PlayStation handheld sold 5 or 6 million in 5 years, that would be god awful. The Vita sold 14 to 15 million. Everybody said that was god awful. That's a failure. The Wii U sold 14, 15 million. Everybody said god awful. That's a failure. But when the Steam Deck sells 5 million, it's amazing. You're a loser. I just have to say it. Stop coping. The Steam machine is an abysmal failure. It's going to sell like 5 million, 6 million. You get lucky if it hits 10 million. And guess what? That's garbage if you're going on the console market. If you're coming to appear like a console, it's vastly overpriced and there's no need for it. Outdated hardware, just like the Steam Deck. Switch 2 is way better than the Steam Deck. Weak, outdated specs. You're going to be playing games at what? 400p? 30 frames per second? You're talking about all that, but like I said, you can't upgrade the hardware. You went in and went off the deep end, then tried to insult me. I just put you in your place, loser. Along with your 35 delusional PC fanboys that came in here and liked this. Let me tell you something. Agreement is not the truth. Agreement can be changed to disagreement. Agreement and disagreement have nothing to do with whether you are right or wrong or you're actually factual. It is just an opinion of somebody agreeing with you. It's a mind thing. See, that's just duality. That's the human nature. Somebody can come in and change this to -35, but YouTube won't let you see it. But guess what, though? It has nothing to do with being the truth. Yeah, let me school you on that real quick. So psychologically, this guy is a PC fanboy, and he's such an extreme PC fanboy. He got so offended by what I said. He came in with his PC fanboys who backed him up right here because he's insecure, and you're so insecure about PlayStation that you had to try to make it seem like the Steam Deck, which is literally a shadow ghost of the Nintendo Switch that sold 5 million units when the Nintendo Switch sold 157 million. Yeah, bro, that's how you play the game, right? That's how you play the game, right? That's how you play the game, right? 157. I want you to think about this. Valve has failed in the hardware space. I'm just going to let you know that. They cannot succeed outside of Windows install base. They had to grow Steam on Microsoft's 1 billion Windows install base. And that's nothing wrong with that. Steam is an awesome app, but that's all it is. Valve is not on the level of PlayStation, Nintendo. They weren't even on the level of Xbox when they had the 360 selling. Or Sega, because they can make their own hardware and install base outside of somebody else's install base, which is Windows. That's what Steam is on, and succeed. PlayStation stands on its own with its own operating system, selling hundreds of millions of hardwares and having its own exclusives and third-party money hats and second-party games. Nintendo has been doing it consistently, dominating console sales and handheld sales. They were juggling 2 markets in the hardware industry that they both have sold console-wise and handheld 100 million off of their exclusive specifically. Valve has never in their life made a hardware with exclusives that could sell 100 million. Stop trying to act like they're on their level, but really all they are is a bunch of pirates with a whole bunch of other console developers' games. You losers get on my nerves because you try to act like something is better over there, but all you do is bum off of other people's development and creation, and they don't give any exclusives yearly. So don't sit here and try to tell me PC is somehow better. No, it's not. You just have customized aspects. That's it. But you don't have those exclusives. And you think that because your mentality is the way that it is, that it's better than everybody else's mentality, but really you have and have had 120 frames, 220 frames, monitors, lower MS, mouse and keyboard, and I've been PC gaming since the 90s because I'm right there. I own everything. And you still try to cheat and mod on games because you're a bunch of losers and you have weak mentalities. Why is it that you have to cheat in the game, but you have an advantage? How's that intelligent, idiot? Yeah, I guess so. Why did you support the most anti-consumer companies on the planet? Nvidia and Microsoft? Idiot. Yeah, that's what I thought. How do you feel right now that you can't handle the truth? And those are trillion-dollar companies. These Japanese companies are not trillion-dollar companies. They have to succeed. Microsoft can go fail 24/7. If I was sitting there making tons of money with other people's games 24/7 in the back and idle microtransactions. Stop trying to act like they're actually competing with hardware and making exclusives that's actually selling 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million copies. I don't see them doing that. They're just sitting in the back with other people's games. And they have DRM license too. And they've been supporting a diskless world for multiple generations. So if there is a solution for physical preservation, it's going to be in a console world, and it's called Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo world. So there you go. Get schooled because you don't know what you're talking about. Then this guy's going to come here talking about living in knowledge, but on the internet, take all these internet gurus and experts as confident, dunking, okay. You know what's so funny about this? Is like you said, this guy's an idiot. PC isn't only Steam. But then here you go again, ranting about the Steam Deck. Most PC gaming is Steam. We know about Epic being there. I've been PC gaming since the 90s, back when Cliff Bleszinski was making Unreal Tournament, hitting monster kills, right? Playing Diablo 2, playing the original Counter-Strike. Bet you didn't know that, did you? I've probably been gaming longer than you, 35 years now. So there you go. Get schooled, PC fanboy. You ain't smart. Like I said, don't try to act like you're smart just because you got a mouse and a keyboard and you can do some customization on some Steam and a little weak device. Ain't gonna be able to play most of these games coming out. Which 2 is way better. Just got a bunch of shovelware and a bunch of other console developed games because all the development kits were based around console gaming. Just saying. That's what got the industry where it was today. Steam was not all that in the 90s. They started blowing up later. So historically, if you want to talk about all the way since the 90s, all the way to 2026, who is in first place and who is in last place? I guarantee you Nintendo and PlayStation are up there. I guarantee you. So you don't know what you're talking about, right? But let's keep going down here. This guy says PC is the most versatile gaming hardware. The thing is that PC is not gaming hardware. It can be used for gaming hardware. Gaming hardware means that you're making something that's specifically for gaming. That's the problem with that argument, is that PlayStation is gaming hardware, Nintendo Switch is gaming hardware, Xbox is gaming hardware, PC is personal customization that could be used for gaming, that could be used for development, that could be used for software editing, it could be used for photoshopping. You see what I mean? So it's the most versatile gaming hardware. I don't know what you mean by that. It can be taken on the go. The Nintendo Switch to me is the most versatile gaming hardware. It could be used as a handheld and it could be used as a console. And it has physical preservation. You don't have physical preservation. You're limited in the GOG shop. I'm just saying, bro. You don't have their exclusives either. So when you say that, it depends on the person's needs. This is the problem, like I said, when somebody has a PC mentality. They think their way is the best, but not everybody thinks that. It's a polarized point of view. There is a large library of titles. There's a lot of shovelware that people ignore. And a lot of cheap games that people buy that they don't play. All you have to do is go take a look at Steam charts, Steam CCU, and you will see it's the same games over and over again. Literally. They can be emulated at native or even higher resolutions. When it comes to game preservation, PC is king at that. Game preservation, so if you want to talk about pirating, if that's what you consider that, okay. But if you never get somebody's exclusives, then I don't know about that. And these games never get deleted. And you don't have them. How can you preserve a game that you can never get? You see? That's the problem. If you can't get the game, then you're not preserving it. You first have to be able to get that. But I get what you're trying to say. I'm not arguing against that. So you're saying game preservation by piracy. That's what you're trying to say. Other than that, Steam is DRM and you have a license. GOG, sure, but they don't have every game. There's certain games you just can't get. So it's either that or modded console hardware to force backwards compatibility. That's what I was talking about earlier. You could do that. And you could just buy one to the side and have another one just for that if that's what you wanted to do. There are pros and cons to this by losing access to online, but now that PlayStation Network is being shut down for older devices, there's no drawback to doing this. Yeah, unless you want to get on a sub model. Okay, fine. I don't have a problem with this guy's comment. Like I said, I could be reasonable. But here's another guy that really can't handle what I said. He says, you are claiming that PC is much more expensive, that you are better off buying a PlayStation 5 for its exclusive games. I'm not specifically saying that. What I'm saying is that the old excuse of PC is better back then when the market was better and this ridiculous pricing wasn't around is better because you have free online. I said it doesn't work anymore for how ridiculous these Nvidia cards are, because most of them, the majority, like Steam is the majority of PC, Nvidia is the majority of PC. These cards are so ridiculous that when you build the PC that you want, if you want a high-end gaming PC, it's going to cost you so much money that if somebody got a PlayStation, and I want you to hear me out here, they got a PS5 digital, which, you know what I mean, you can save yourself money. What was it, like $500 or whatever? But anyways, you can get that, or $549 or whatever. And if you are a single-player guy, and all you play is single-player games, you don't have to pay for online. So what's the difference between getting the PC and paying like $2,500 or $3,000 and somebody gets a PlayStation and pays $549, even if you got the Pro for $900 and you only play single player games and free to play games? You're not paying for online. That's only there if you want to play a multiplayer game. And you can wait on PlayStation Plus to be on sale to get that. I'm just saying, in a PC world, yeah, you don't have to pay for multiplayer. But if you got to pay $1,500 to $2,000 more because of hardware, and every time you want to upgrade and monitors are ridiculous and all that, then how much money do you think you're saving by getting a PS5 Pro? And if you wanted to get that in the PC world and you're spending $2,000 something, you're saving yourself $1,100. Do you think that you limitedly selecting when you want to play online with PlayStation Plus for $10 or $11 a month, when are you going to hit that $1,100? By that time, you've already paid that much more for your PC again, and even more, because you have to keep upgrading. You see what I'm saying? That's why I say that that's now just pretty much null and void. Now, when consoles and PC prices were closer, then you're saying if this guy's paying this much yearly for PlayStation Plus, I can understand that logic during that time. But the gap now for how much RAM costs, SSD prices, all that, dude, you're spending in NVIDIA RTX cards, which, by the way, are about to go up by 33% again, sometimes 40%, they said. It was between 30 to 40% they're about to go up. You're going to be spending an extra $250 to $300 again. Imagine when the PS6 comes out, let's say it's $800. The market crashes, Sony gets it down to $700. If you want to build a PC equivalent to that, imagine if that cost you $2,500 to $3,000, right? Do you know how much money you would be saving? You can still get yourself a Nintendo Switch 2. And get all the exclusives on there, and get the PlayStation exclusives, and get online, and you still are saving yourself money. That's what I'm saying. That depends on what you think. And if you're just paying a bunch of single-player games, you don't have to pay for online at all. And Nintendo Switch Online is cheap. It's $19.99. That's what I was saying here. So let's continue here. He says, you are claiming that PC is much more expensive, that you are better off buying a PlayStation 5 for its exclusive games if that's what you want. Same thing for Nintendo Switch 2, because you're not getting the exclusives. I like both of their games. Yet you completely failed to mention how much money you constantly lose just to stay inside the PlayStation ecosystem. What makes you think that? You can wait on sales. They have the same sales now. I can tell that these people don't have a PlayStation because Sony does the same deep discounts like Steam does. If you knew that, right? And they drop the price of their first party games and they tank them down. Some of them go on sale for $35, $30, $25. They do. Sometimes $20. So to lose just to stay inside the PlayStation ecosystem. Unlike Steam, where online multiplayer is completely free to play, that's if you play multiplayer games, remember that. That's why I said that this depends on what you're playing. PlayStation forces you to pay an expensive PlayStation Plus subscription. It's gotten expensive, yeah. Every single year just to access online features, if you want to use them. But they also give you like 33, 40% off sometimes for the whole year, and you can save yourself money. Saying you can. And it's not like you're just paying to just play online. They also give you access to libraries like Game Pass. And you get free games every month. Some of those games actually are more expensive than the fee that you're paying. Let's say if somebody just got a PlayStation right now, right? And they got a Steam. If they had equal specs and you told that person you can go get 3 months of PlayStation Extra and he got to catch up on 20 PlayStation exclusives from the PS4 generation and PS5 because he never had one, do you know how much money he's saving? Because everything's renting license anyway, right? He'd probably be saving $1,000 easily, maybe more money. But on Steam, you have to actually have those games available if they were available. We're just talking third-party games, right? But all PlayStation Plus exclusives go to PlayStation Extra. And sometimes they're $60, $70. I remember when I got my PS5, I immediately played 4 PlayStation exclusives instantly. There were $60 games. For one fee, for $15, I saved myself $240. You act like that can only be seen negative. It's only negative for the paywall of online, but if you're using it to play other games like a Game Pass subscription, it could be a benefit. Steam doesn't have that option. Nintendo is for retro. So that's why I say that it depends on how you look at it. And you could be doing that while having online and catching up on stuff. You don't have to have online to play most PlayStation games because most of them are single player games. And most PlayStation gamers play single player games. Same thing for Nintendo Switch gamers, and they can play offline. Just saying. So, yeah, so like he says, pay an expensive PlayStation Plus subscription every single year just to access online features. When you add up that cost of the hardware, the mandatory multiplayer subscriptions, if they're doing that, that's the thing. You're trying to make this seem like this is a factor that 100% of gamers have to do. Like you have to have a multiplayer subscription. You do not. And the significantly higher prices of games on a locked digital storefront, they're not higher. Sony does sales all the time, just like Steam. I go take a look at both. Their sales are damn near similar. The only difference is Steam sometimes gives you discounts on some of these shovelware games that are not on there. But the third-party publishers charge the same prices on all storefronts. It's the same thing. And the PS5 Pro or PSVR 2 is more powerful than most PCs that PC users have. Go look at the Steam Intel, right? They're telling you that most PC gamers have these type of rigs. And when the PS6 comes out, you're going to be significantly behind. In order to start playing some of those games, you're going to have to upgrade your PC. And it's going to cost you a ton of money. So that's why I said that this argument is not really valid anymore. The digital stores have similar prices now. Sony does deep discounts 24/7, and they have sales running 24/7, just like Steam. Just saying, man. They do. Now, where you don't get the same first-party discounts is in the Nintendo world. They're the ones that don't give you deep discounts on their games. But Sony, man, they put some of their first-party games cheap all the time. They even put them down to $19.99. They're not stingy with their prices. They're not. So, and Steam doesn't have any first-party games. It's just a whole bunch of third-party developers' games that are on PlayStation. And money hats that Sony used to have that they share with PC. And since the publisher is doing a sale, they make the sale the same price on both stores. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't understand what you're saying when you talk about this. The only thing you have is if somebody gets a multiplayer subscription, and that's if they want to play a multiplayer game. That's it. Other than that, I don't see what else you're talking about here. And like I said, how much more money you're spending on PC, you can use that for multiplayer subscriptions when you need them. And you're still spending more money on PC because it's vastly overpriced. And in the console world, they subsidize. It's always been like that. So this is what I didn't understand. What did I say that was actually wrong? No, you got offended, not necessarily you, but that other guy, because I basically told the truth. So you end up spending way more money over a console lifecycle than if you had just brought a proper PC from the start. That's not true, man. Because a lot of people on console, like I said, they don't pay for PlayStation Plus, and they just play single player games or free-to-play games. You don't need a subscription to play free-to-play games. So I don't agree with you on that. Because a lot of people in the PC world, I mean, they spend a lot of money on microtransactions. And they over-support NVIDIA. I'm just saying, they'll spend an extra $1,000 on an NVIDIA GPU. When I said, man, that thing went up by $1,000. What if you spent, and you waited on a sale, and you only needed PlayStation Plus online, you spent, what was it, $70, $80 a year on PlayStation Plus? And you have PlayStation for 5 years, that's $400. You're still $600 behind by catching up on the NVIDIA card. And in 10 years, you ain't having the same NVIDIA card. You want to go to RAM now and all that? You see what I mean? It doesn't work anymore because it's so much more vastly expensive. It's hard to close that gap now. Now, if PC was the same specs as a console and they were similar prices, because it used to be like that, then you would have an advantage if you said everybody has multiplayer subscriptions. But yeah, and I'd see PC gamers say this a lot. They'd be playing single player games. You're not even needing that because you play nothing but single player games. Unless you're one of those people that play the Counter-Strike game a lot. You know what I mean? But other than that, yeah, you play a bunch of single player games and older games that don't need subscriptions. So what's the point here? See, look at this guy says. He is right. Right now, Nintendo Switch 2 or PlayStation 5 is less expensive than buying a big PC. However, this might change in the future. He's like, let us look at the exact official numbers for a standard 5-year console life cycle in the US market. A PlayStation 5 currently costs $650 upfront, but online multiplayer through PlayStation Plus is $80 per year. That's what I was saying, which totals to $400 over 5 years. Yeah. If you have it like that and you buy that whole year, some people will just buy a month here and there because they're not playing an online game. So why would you just leave it idle? That's what I'm saying, bro. That doesn't necessarily have to always be that. If a user wants a proper game catalog equivalent to PC options through the PlayStation Plus Extra tier, that costs $135 per year. But you would have to pay full price for that on PC. You could just rent it on PlayStation for 1 month and beat all those games. Like I said, you could choose 1 month, 3 month, or 1 year. You don't always have to do 1 year. He's trying to say that everybody goes for the 1 year and that you have to spend $675 or something in 5 years or whatever. It goes on sale. You can get 33% off. I'm just saying, so you're not spending that. Sony's even had deals when you get a PlayStation 5, you get 2 years of premium with it. They've had bundles with that. So when you combine the initial hardware costs with the mandatory multiplayer subscription, the baseline price of owning a PlayStation 5 climbs to between $10.50 and $13.25 before buying a single standalone game. If that's what they were doing. I don't have a problem with what you're saying. I get it. On top of that, standard digital games on a lot of console storefronts stay at full price, significantly longer than games on open PC platforms like Steam. That's not true, because if there's the same game, the publisher does the sell across all of them. I've checked it multiple times. Sony be giving you cheap deals. You might want to start going to the PlayStation Twitter page and seeing what Sony says sales are live. Just go scroll down right now and look at them. Those games are super cheap on there. I know, because I buy them all the time. So yeah, I mean, he says the electricity usage for a PC is higher. It's true. On PC, even more than with higher end that use 750 watts plus power supplies. That negates any cost for online. Plus you deal with hackers and cheats constantly on PC. You could be wasting your money. That's what I'm saying. There's so many flaws on both. That's why I said, stop trying to make it seem like it's better when that's not necessarily the case. When Valve has given you the most overpriced hardware of all time, the Steam Deck at $949, more expensive than the PS5 Pro. Let's be serious here. Twice the money of a Nintendo Switch 2 plus $50, and the Steam machine being more expensive than any hardware on the market. Yeah, that don't make no sense to me. So these arguments are null and void. So this guy says, what in the actual F is this person talking about? No PC gamer gives an F. LMAO. It's people who own both or only a PlayStation. Stop trying not to blame your own pony fan base because you can't take any PlayStation backlash. Why would the PlayStation backlash affect me? I'm all digital. That's why I say I'm not going to be no hypocrite. The only solution to all digital will be in a Nintendo world. PlayStation backlash does not affect me. As a matter of fact, I make videos supporting that. I'm telling you, man, you see people coming in here. This does not mean anything to me, man. You can have 1,000 there because what you're saying literally makes no sense because I've always owned a PC. I used to play tons of World of Warcraft back then. Tons of the MMOs. So what are you talking about? This has to be a lone one. So yeah, all this stuff to me, guys, is just PC gamers showing how immature they can be. Because you're the one that's only in the PC world. Well, I had the PC, the every Xbox, the every Nintendo, the every PlayStation, the every Sega, all the handhelds. Even used to go to lockouts and do Battlefield lockouts back then with Monster Energies. Remember those days? People go to the Battlefield lockouts, Counter-Strike, all that. We did all that. So I've equally supported all worlds. I'm just talking about fanboys. I find it funny that people talk about Pony when I said I like Nintendo the most. I used to be called an Xbox fanboy when I was doing Xbox content. Then one time I was called an Nvidia fanboy when I was doing PC content. And then I'm getting called a Nintendo fanboy. So I've been called all fanboys in all planes. It just depends on what people actually want to use. So this stuff right here is funny. So I want you guys to let me know what you actually think about this. Remember, come watch the video and see yourself. PlayStation going all digital is exposing PC fanboys because I called them hypocrites and said you really don't have any ground to stand on. And you're not that much better. And they don't like that I'm showing Valve's anti-consumer behavior. Like they're a perfect company. No, they're not. Far from it. They don't give any games. And they pirate. And they're going to give you the most expensive hardwares like that. It's ridiculous. That's what you supported, just like Nvidia. So yeah, later. Keep on gaming no matter what platform you're on. Or if you're a Steam fanboy, app. This hardware has failed 3 times. First Steam machine, Steam Deck, and the Steam machine now. You need Windows. It's okay.